स्टार्ट लाइव हो गया? ओके. Good afternoon everyone. I hope all of you are doing good and all of you had a very energetic, enriching, enthralling session with Smriti ma'am. I hope I live up to the standards that she has set. Hopefully you will be able to learn something new in this session as well. So as you people might know, we have divided this session as in this discussion of GS paper 4 in 3 parts. Some questions were taken according to topics. Some questions were taken by Smriti ma'am. I'll be taking 4 theoretical questions and 3 case studies, and after me Jatin sir would be taking up the remaining rest of the questions. So I hope you have been told by ma'am as to how to start, how to prepare for this paper, what are the things that you should be aware about, how should you practice to write better answers for this paper. I'll just add a few points to what she has already told you. One of the most important things that you should be doing for this particular paper, ethics paper 4, one of the most important things that you should be focusing upon is to write down and remember one-line definitions and one example of all the values that you can think about. Think about, for example, honesty, integrity, probity, perseverance, fortitude, all these values which you come across. Most of these values are written in your syllabus only, and most of the values, remaining values, you will find if you look at previous year's papers. Just take a look at previous year's paper. Now it has been 7 years since ethics has been since we have a paper for ethics. Pick up those 7 years papers. Just see what are the values that have been asked. Simply write down one line or at max 2 line definitions of those values and write down an example in which that particular value is being shown. Some real life example or some short example made up from your own mind about how a particular value can be seen in action. Honesty, for example, just see what is one line definition of honesty. Open up Google, write down define honesty, go to, for example, Oxford dictionary, go to Merriam-Webster dictionary. There is one better source if you want to go to plato.stanford.edu. Stanford University की जो philosophy department है, that its website is plato.stanford.edu. If you want to go there, you can go there. But the point is वो बहुत complex, बहुत बड़ी definitions हैं. But I'm just referring you to one source. Go to that website, see the definition of all these values, write down value in one short line, in one concise line, write down an example, and that is the best way to prepare for this examination. As you would have already seen in the questions that ma'am has discussed, in the question that I am going to discuss, and in the question that Jatin sir will be discussing, you would see that all these questions revolve around values. The point is, in your exam when you go, for example, this was in 2014. In 2014, what did they ask? First question was, what do you understand by happiness? अभी जैसे there was a question around hatred कि hatred की definition क्या है? There was a question around, they asked an explicit question in the exam that what do you understand by happiness? अब happiness की definition क्या है तो किसी को नहीं पता. Nobody knows how to define happiness. But everybody is thinking, sitting in the exam, happiness क्या है? जब I score runs in the match, I am happy. I achieve good marks in my exam, I am happy. I am satisfied, I am happy. I make my parents happy, I am happy. I make somebody else, some poor person happy, then I am happy. Point is, all these are instances which make you happy. There is no definition of happiness. There is no definition of happiness. How could you prepare for this? You could prepare for this in advance. At least, चलो happiness की definition आपने याद नहीं करी, but बाकी और जो 9 क्वेश्चंस है, 10 क्वेश्चंस हैं, उसके अंदर they have asked a definition of what is integrity, what is honesty, what is perseverance, what is fortitude, what is law, what is ethics, what is values, what is principles, what are beliefs, all these things, definitions. These definitions are the foundation stones of your preparation for this paper. So please remember these definitions to write good answers. As you would have already seen if you would have looked at the paper, The questions are new. Questions are new as in many times you don't expect the question. By looking at the question, okay, then you will see, now we are looking in the hindsight. When you look at the question in the hindsight, okay, you will see, okay, this is certainly an expected question. But when you start writing in the examination hall an answer to such a question, the point is most of the time you are going to feel that this question is something which I did not expect. It doesn't matter whether you expected or not. The point is UPSC has asked a question and you will have to answer that question in order to qualify this examination. The best way that you can prepare for answering a question is to memorize definitions. Concise, precise definitions, wo yaad karo. Also examples. Examples. What do I mean when I say examples? By examples I mean that you should not memorize word मैं use कर रहा हूँ बार बार. By examples what I mean is that you should not spend your time in writing, spend your time and space in writing a background of a particular situation. You don't have to become a screenwriter, a cinematographer, a screenplay writer कि मूवी की स्टोरी लिख रहे हैं एग्जाम में जाके. If you have to give an example of honesty, तो अब आप वहां पे पूरा बैकग्राउंड एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हो. That I was in this situation, I was a poor man, और जिसका भी एग्जाम्पल दे रहे हो, that person was a poor man and that person stood up to people who were in power, did not do anything wrong, did not take any bribe, was not corrupt. All this is not required. You don't have to write an entire background story of somebody to explain this value of honesty or integrity, or for that matter any other value that is being asked. Simply remember through, अब ये practice से आता है, this comes with practice, that how do you concise your example without giving the background. How do you concise? Give example of a situation in which you have demonstrated some civil servant like quality. ये क्वेश्चन पता नहीं 6-7 बार पूछा है पिछले 7 years में. Every year some form or the other they ask this question. Give example of a situation in which you have behaved like you have shown some civil service, some quality of civil servant. Leadership you have shown, objectivity you have shown, compassion you have shown, empathy have you shown, these qualities. So they are asked these questions every year. This year also in some form they have asked such questions only. Now अब वहां पे अब आप बताने लगो कि एम्पैथी दिखाने के लिए या कंपैशन दिखाने के लिए I was going, I did this, then that and finally this is the way I showed empathy. Not required. It's a wastage of your time and space. You have to be precise and concise. You have to explain in as minimum words as possible, and that will come only and only if you have practiced. If you have been influenced by somebody who said कि ethics का पेपर बहुत general है, इसको prepare करने जाने की आवश्यकता नहीं है, trust me, you are not going to get good marks in ethics. You are going to get good marks in ethics. This paper is more about writing your answer properly. It's more about writing your answer properly, as in you should be able to write your answer in less time, less space, convey more information through use of better words. The choice of words in this paper is extremely important. Choice of words, और वो choice of words करने के लिए ही, when trust me, those of you who are watching the session, मैंने इकोनॉमिक्स का जब सेशन लिया तब भी मैंने ये बोला था that I believe that most of you who are watching this session are the ones who have not yet written examination. Those of you who have written examination, they would probably, I would like to think so, that they would agree with me, and those who have not written examination, they would, for them this might come as a surprise when you go and sit in the examination. Ask anybody who has written mains, ask anybody. They will tell you for sure, and I can guarantee this, that maximum time to complete the paper is for paper number 4. Paper 1, 2, 3 और बाकी चारों GS, on all 4 GS papers, the time that you get is just sufficient to complete your paper, just sufficient. If you have wasted your time in thinking and writing some good answer, some long answer, the chances of you to finish your paper are less. And this is more so in ethics paper. Ask anybody who has written paper, they will always say that ethics paper mein either they were not able to complete the paper, they have left 1 or 2 questions, or they would not have attempted the questions properly. Ask anybody, it takes maximum time to write to complete this ethics paper. And why is it the case? ऐसा क्यों है कि ethics paper में लिखने में सबसे ज़्यादा समय लगता है? It is not because that you have to write long answers in case studies, certainly not because of that. It is because when you are writing answer, you will experience this yourself, that you will always be thinking about the choice of words. Your mind will not tell you which word to use, and you will stop writing, and then you will start thinking that what is the word, what is the line, what is the how should I formulate what is there in my mind. ये आपको प्रॉब्लम, प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम फेस होगी जब आप एथिक्स का पेपर लिख रहे होगे. पहले से कहना बहुत आसान होता है कि एथिक्स के पेपर में पढ़ के जाने की आवश्यकता है. इट्स नो नीड टू गो एंड स्टडी एनीथिंग इन एथिक्स पेपर. इट्स वेरी जनरल पेपर. हैप्पीनेस ही तो पूछा, लिख देंगे हैप्पीनेस के अंदर कुछ भी. बुद्धिज्म की वैल्यूज पूछिए, लिख देंगे. कोई कोट पूछा है, कोट इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज का कोट है, हिंदी लैंग्वेज इंग्लिश, व्हाटएवर कोट इज देयर, सिंपली इट इज अ वेरी जनरल स्टेटमेंट. इट शुड नॉट टेक एनी एफर्ट टू राइट एन आंसर टू. भाई ज्ञान देने में तो सब माहिर है, एवरीबडी नोज हाउ टू. Point is, you have to give that gyan in limited amount of time, in limited amount of space. And trust me, if you have not practiced, then I guarantee that you will have paucity of time. You will not be able to complete your paper. Therefore, it is absolutely necessary for you to keep on revising, to keep on writing, to keep on looking at previous year's papers and write down answer to those questions. Questions per se are not difficult. Questions are not difficult. We'll see. आपने अभी भी देखा होगा, स्मृति मैम ने डिस्कशन किया है. अभी I'll take discussion. Questions are not difficult, but writing answer to those questions is difficult. Writing answer, मेरे पास 1.5 घंटे का टाइम है, 1.25 घंटे का टाइम है, मैं आपको कितना भी ज्ञान दे सकता हूं उन क्वेश्चंस के ऊपर. Point is, you will be writing those answers in the examination. You will have to, you don't have that math. 1.5 घंटे में मैं 6-7 क्वेश्चन करूंगा, मेरे को कोई लिमिटेशन नहीं है. आपके पास लिमिटेशन होगी जब आप लिखने लगोगे. I can tell you answer to easy questions. These are easy questions. Trust me. You know the answer to these questions, but you must also have the ability to write the answer to these questions. This is the most important part of this paper. Write the answer to these questions. Without practice, you will not be able to do so. Don't want to join any test series? Free not to join. But at least pick up previous year's papers and start writing answer to those questions. पिछले साल के 7 साल के पेपर हैं. Every year 19 questions are there. Write down answer to those questions. Trust me, you will be in a very good place. You will be in a very good position to score good marks in this examination. Okay, let's start with our discussion. Let's start with the answers to. Let's start with discussion to the question that I'll be taking. The first question that I'll be taking is question number 1A. Discuss the role of ethics and values in enhancing the following 3 major components of comprehensive national power. Comprehensive national power. What is the question? Understand the question. ये मैंने इकोनॉमिक्स के डिस्कशन में भी बोला था और मैं अभी भी बोल रहा हूं. If you spend some time without raising your pen in understanding the question, क्वेश्चन को समझो, 1 मिनट तक कुछ मत लिखो आंसर में, 1-1.5 मिनट तक. प्लीज डोंट राइट एनीथिंग इन योर आंसर फॉर 1-1.5 मिनट. प्लान फॉर व्हाट आर यू गोइंग टू राइट. Understand the question, read and reread the question again, understand what the question is asking, and then plan and then start to write. Trust me, you will save a lot of time. Let's understand the question, and then once we understand, it becomes very easy to write the answer. Discuss the role of ethics and values in enhancing the following 3 major components of comprehensive national power, viz. Human capital, soft power, culture and policy. Soft power, which is culture and policies, and social harmony. What is the question asking? What is the demand of question? Number 1, it is asking the role that ethics plays. Role of ethics and values. सबसे पहले हमें ये देखना है. That means we have to see anything that we are going to see in the context of ethics and values. Number 1, understand. I am just telling you how to understand this question. In enhancing 3 components of something, what is that something? Comprehensive national power. So the question is about role that ethics and values can play in enhancement of comprehensive national power. And comprehensive national power has been defined in the question to consist of 3 components, which are human capital, soft power, and social harmony. What role does ethics and values play in enhancing comprehensive national power as defined in the question? This is what the question is asking. Certainly you would have to define, you will have to elaborate upon what is comprehensive national power. वो आपको करना पड़ेगा आंसर में. Then after you define what is comprehensive national power, then each of these three components that are mentioned, question में mentioned है chronologically उन parts को mention करेंगे, human capital, soft power and social harmony, and then in each of these parts we'll write what role does ethics and values play, as simple as that. So what should be the structure of our answer? हमारे आंसर का structure होना चाहिए that first we define what is CNP. First we define what is CNP. Then we write down the three individual components of CNP, viz. Human capital, social harmony, अच्छा sorry, social harmony से पहले soft chronological order. I mean no hard and fast rule, but because the chronology of the question says कि पहले soft power दिया है, उसके बाद soft power and then social harmony. The broad skeleton of our answer: define CNP and write down about role of ethics and values. Role of ethics and values in enhancement. In enhancement. How does discuss the role that ethics and values play in enhancing the following three major components? Enhancement. Role of ethics and values in enhancement. Enhancement of human capital, enhancement of soft power, enhancement of social harmony. डरना नहीं है ये वर्ड देखिए, कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव नेशनल पावर क्या है, इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज का वर्ड है एंड इट इज वेरी सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी. कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव नेशनल पार्क अगर नहीं भी पता है, डोंट यू नो द मीनिंग ऑफ द वर्ड कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव, द वर्ड नेशनल एंड द वर्ड पार्क, यू नो what would be the comprehensive national power? It means it's simply trying to talk about something. If you define national power as power because of military or economic might, the conventional way to define national power is a nation is powerful nation. The conventional way to define that power is how much military might does a nation has, how much economic weight does a nation possess. These are conventional ways. Well, because we are using some different term, we are calling it comprehensive. That means there would be something different. और आपको गाइड करने के लिए, टू गाइड यू, द क्वेश्चन हैज ऑलरेडी गिवन यू दैट व्हाट आर द थ्री कंपोनेंट्स: ह्यूमन कैपिटल, सॉफ्ट पावर एंड सोशल हार्मनी. We have got historical references to what is comprehensive national power. If you wish to write, you can certainly write about them. Comprehensive national power, this English language term, this comes into more prevalence because of the Chinese. Chinese define that, okay, we have a national power, we will define something as comprehensive national power, as in our ability to influence. Listen very carefully. Chinese will define comprehensive national power as their ability to influence, their ability to achieve their national objectives internationally. Ability to achieve national objectives internationally. And how would they achieve their national objectives internationally? By dominating the world bodies, decision making bodies, by influencing the decision makers of the world, by influencing the population of rest of the world. This is how they will define that what is the manner in which their national power can become more comprehensive in nature. Not just having military might or large economic weight, but also the ability to enforce their decisions on rest of the world in accordance with their national objective. जो उनका national objective है, उसके according, in order to enforce those decisions, those policies in rest of the world. That is how they will define comprehensive national power. For example, when Deng Xiaoping, the reformer chairman of Communist Party in China, that guy had this concept of comprehensive national power. So movement of Chinese people, Chinese diaspora across the world started when Chinese economy started to open. Now they have so much presence in American universities, European universities. There are so many exchange programs that go on between China and all of the universities of the world. China is now able to influence others. हम जब soft power की बात करते हैं, for example, I'm just digressing a little bit into IR. जब हम soft power की बात करते हैं, the thing that comes into our mind is movies and music and all these things, cultural aspect. Chinese are not selling their movies. Please understand this. Chinese do not sell their movies. Chinese film industry is not being sold like Indian film industry is being sold to the rest of the world. Rest of the world is coming to China because China has sold their culture, as in China has marketed their culture, marketed their geography, marketed their environmental landscapes to the world. you see premiere of any large scale Hollywood movie, there is a special place, there is a special schedule that they have for China, that premiere in China, 2-3 cities in China, the movie will premiere there. It will not premiere in Japan or South Korea, but it will certainly premiere, the movie's premiere will happen certainly in some cities of China. That is Chinese soft power. They have been able to attract, they have been able to exert, I'll use this word which is an integral part of this comprehensive national power. They have now the critical mass. Critical mass मतलब अब पूरी दुनिया care करती है that yes, China is something that is worth caring for, worth listening to. They have that critical mass in order to exercise their comprehensive national power. Critical mass है उनके पास. Critical mass as in huge number of people in the world are now concerned with what happens in China. Some influential number of people are now concerned with what is happening in China. In order to persuade China, in order to listen to Chinese interests. That is what comprehensive national power is. Now, coming back to our discussion, what is the role of ethics and values in enhancing human capital, soft power and social harmony, which are three components of comprehensive national power. तो पहले हमने comprehensive national power define करना है. Kautilya has a concept of comprehensive national power. Kautilya also says that comprehensive national power as in first and foremost economic and military might. Second, he says diplomacy, important ingredient. Kautilya के 7 elements of state है ना, king, minister, population, sovereignty, treasury, enemy and capital, Durg, capital. So Kautilya says what is the way to exercise power. He has a conception of a comprehensive national power. He doesn't merely say, Kautilya in his Arthashastra, he doesn't also merely say that you have national power is merely economic and military might. He also says that it is economic and military might first, diplomacy second, and the ability of leader, the personal characteristics of the leader to influence third. Second and third part he gives great emphasis on. First के ऊपर तो emphasis है, conventional emphasis इसी पे है, building better military and building better economy. But he says without the second and third there is no comprehensive national power. You will not be able to exercise your power. Without diplomacy, without being able to influence, without being able to enforce your decisions in your national interest internationally, you will not be able to do that. And without a leader charismatic enough, energetic enough to do that, you will not be able to achieve your goals. This is what Kautilya's conception of comprehensive national power is. What is the role of ethics and values in enhancing them? Human capital, how can human capital be enhanced in the light of comprehensive national power? Well, human capital can be enhanced because you can produce better skilled, better educated people. Human capital किसको बोलते हैं? How is human capital different from human resource? Human resource is merely population. You have a huge amount of population, you say that is human resource. Resource is something that has potential to be exploited. Exploited is not a negative term that I am using here. Exploited means utilize, to produce something, to generate some output. Potential hai, there is a potential to generate, that is resource. How does resource transform into capital? When resource becomes utilizable, when resource becomes productive, then resource gets transformed into capital. Merely having large number of people in your country versus having educated, skilled, healthier people in your country. People who have the ability, for example, to go and occupy influential positions in the world. Indians are sitting as CEOs of one of the world's largest companies. We have an Indian who is the chief economic advisor of the IMF. We may have Indians who are in influential positions in United Nations or in Security Council, UNSC or in World Bank or in WTO. So that will be done only when your human capital has been enhanced. If your human capital is merely human resource, if the system that forms your human capital is inequitable in nature, if you are selecting only a few to be trained as human capital, then you will not be able to exploit the potential of your human capital. Chinese have gone out, large number of Chinese have gone out, and that is why they are influencing, they are able to exercise they're able to exercise comprehensive national power because of their human capital. Because a large number of Chinese are working in various universities, are researching in American universities, European universities. That is why, अगर चाइना में केवल ऐसा होता that a few selected elite were going out, then they would not have acquired the critical mass to influence comprehensive national power of China. The role of ethics is to be more equitable, to generate human capital in a more equitable form. More and more people to be trained, provided healthcare facilities, educated, so that they can go abroad. They get the opportunity to exercise this comprehensive national power in order to influence world affairs for national interest. Soft power. How can a country's soft power be influenced by ethics and values? Well, soft power constitutes of many aspects, cultural aspects, traditional aspects, your cinema, movies, songs, all these things, your literary exchanges with the rest of the world, the manner in which a country decides for something, that would also be part of soft power. So you have large diaspora abroad, and that large diaspora is a respected diaspora. You have large number of people living abroad, Canada, Australia, UK, USA, New Zealand, so many places, huge amount of diaspora is living. And they are able to influence the locals there through their culture, through their tradition. Now you have, for example, Donald Trump in his own way wishing Diwali. American president every year have been wishing Diwali, Holi and whatever festivals we celebrate. Why? Because of soft power that we exercise there. Becomes an essential component of diplomacy, soft power. Now how can ethics be able to enhance that? Ethics will be able to enhance that, this soft power, because unless and until other country sees that you are an ethical power, that you exercise your power in an ethical manner, जब तक बाहर वाला country ये नहीं देखेगा that you are a power, that certain value, certain soft power that you are providing, that you are spreading in their country is informed by ethics and values. It's not that they are wishing us Diwali just because we celebrate Diwali. They are wishing us Diwali because they know that it's a festival that conveys some good message. That is why they are wishing us Diwali. So soft power has to be informed by ethics. The message that they are trying to give is, they say, it's a triumph of good over evil, light over darkness. So soft power has to be ethically informed in order to be exercised. Soft power cannot be कि you are exporting something violent, for example, something which is not considered to be ethical in nature, and you are exporting that aspect, that will not turn into your comprehensive national power. आप influence कर सकते हो, but only to a very small number of people, not to a critical mass. Social harmony, most important ingredient of comprehensive national power. If there is no harmony at your home, then there can be no harmony abroad, as in your international relations. If you are a divided house, you cannot negotiate as one house in the international fora. If you go to WTO, for example लिखना है इसके अंदर social harmony में. If you go to WTO to negotiate for subsidies given to agriculture, the rest of the countries are going to point out कि भाई अपने यहां तो अपने फार्मर्स को संभाल नहीं सकते और हमारे यहां फार्मर्स को संभालने की बात कर रहे हो. Your own farmers are not ready for the reforms that you are professing, and how are you professing these reforms for us? Or vice versa. Reforms that WTO says, you go to WTO and says that we will implement all these reforms. What is the veracity of your claim? What is the legitimacy of your claim that you will be able to implement any reform, you will be able to implement any policy, if the evidence at your home is contrary to that? Why? Because there is no social harmony in your country. Unless there is social harmony in the country, people of the country will not be able to work as one, and hence you will not be able to achieve a comprehensive national power. If you want to exercise comprehensive national power, if you want to show your strength to the rest of the world, you must behave, you must be united at home. Obviously, the role of ethics in social harmony, very, very obvious. The domestic policies must be informed with ethics. The manner in which government tries to conduct its affairs must be informed with values that no section of the society feels delineated. No section of the society feels cheated. And if there are any grievance of any section of society, they are handled in an amicable manner, which results in social harmony and hence brings out a united picture of the country which can contribute to comprehensive national power. I hope this is clear to everybody. मैंने काफी बड़ा आपको एग्जाम्पल दिया है, but I hope now you will be able to write better points in this answer. Let's move on to the next question now. I'll be taking up question number 6A, B and C. The statements that have been given. The topic, there is an explicit topic mentioned in your syllabus. The contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and the world. Human values, lessons from the lives and teachings of great leaders, reformers and administrators. So there is a topic here which is mentioned in your syllabus. I'll be taking up 3 statements that are mentioned. Question number 6. 6A. This is a statement by Vivekananda. The statement says, question is, what do each of the following quotations mean to you? What do each of the following quotations mean to you? Question भी हम discuss करेंगे and let's read the statement now. Condemn none. If you can stretch out a helping hand, do so. If not, fold your hands, bless your brothers and let them go their own way. Question बहुत आसान है. I mean, you know, if I ask you to write answer to this question, I am sure all of you will be able to write something meaningful in this answer. Question is very easy. How should you write an answer to such a question? Quotation वाले statement में question का answer हम किस तरीके से लिखते हैं? Understand this question on quotation, when you have to write an answer to, what do you mean, what do you understand by a certain quote that has been given? सबसे पहले तो एक चीज ध्यान रखो, one thing please remember. There is no need, absolutely no need. कोशिश भी मत करना इस चीज की, time waste बहुत ज्यादा हो. There is absolutely no need for you to go and read quotations by anybody. कोई जरूरत नहीं है quotations की. If you know some quotation, if you know some famous quote of Vivekananda, Gandhi ji, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, any person, any Abraham Lincoln, Socrates, Plato, किसी का भी, if you know some quote, that's very good. बहुत अच्छी बात है अगर आपको quote आता है. Verbatim you know some quote of anybody, extremely good. I'm really happy for you. Otherwise, you do not need to, please listen, you do not need to go and look at the quotes of some famous personality, some moral thinker, some leader, some administrator and try to memorize them and think about that in advance. देखो quotes जो आपसे पूछे जाते हैं, quotes are contextual in nature. Contextual as in they were given in a certain context, they were given in a certain environment. Vivekananda is saying something, Gandhiji is saying something, Aristotle is saying something, the 3 quotes that we are going to discuss. All these quotes have been said in a particular social setting, in a particular political, environmental, social setting. Whether they are relevant now or not is what you have to evaluate in the answer. So सबसे पहले हमें question में क्या दिमाग में रखना है? What do you have to keep in mind? We have to keep in mind that what is the context in which that quote is being said. Number 1. Number 2, the second thing that you have to keep in mind is that the context may have changed, but the central meaning of the quote may still be relevant. Context जिसमें वो quote दिया गया था, that context, that social setting, environmental, physical, economic, social setting, political setting may have certainly changed. But the central message that the quote has given, that central message may still remain. तो हमें अपने दिमाग में ये 2 चीजें रखनी है. Context जिसमें दिया गया था और second an awareness that would have changed, probably that has changed today. So we have to keep these things in mind. Now let's discuss what should you be writing in this particular question. Condemn none, and if you can stretch out a helping hand, do so. If not, fold your hands, bless your brothers and let them go their own way. किस तरीके से हम आंसर लिखते हैं इस क्वेश्चन का? How do we write an answer to such a question? This question is centered around what is the value that this question is, that this statement is propagating. The value that this statement is propagating is the value of number one, tolerance, acceptance, and at this tolerance, and not merely tolerance but at the same time acceptance of a different point of view. Tolerating a different point of view, secondly accepting a different point of view, and third, most importantly, not agreeing to a different point of view but allowing somebody else to hold that different point of view. I'm not just tolerating what you are saying, I'm accepting you for what you say, and also I'm keeping myself informed in such a manner, I'm behaving myself in such a manner that I agree to your right to say something which I don't agree with, while insulating myself or while informing myself that I don't need to agree with this, and if you agree with something or if you say something, you are free to hold that opinion and you can continue to hold that opinion. All the best, but I will not be influenced. अगर आपने अपने क्वेश्चन में if in your answer you have focused on only the first two aspect, अगर आपने अपने आंसर में केवल first two aspect लिखे हैं, most of the students would have written only the first two aspects, tolerance and acceptance, that this statement is about accepting, tolerating different points of views. Incomplete answer हो जाएगा. सबको मालूम है इसके अंदर, condemn none, if you can stretch out a helping hand, do so, if not, fold your hands, bless your brothers and let them go their own way. इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट यहां पे एक विवेकानंद जी ये भी बोल रहे हैं दैट लेट देम गो देयर ओन वे, लेट देम चूज देयर ओन पाथ, लेट देम चूज देयर ओन डेस्टिनी. But subtly he is also conveying that you choose your own destiny, you choose your own path, build your own path. This is what Vivekananda is trying to say. The third important point in this message, tolerance, acceptance, वो दिखता है that you tolerate somebody else for their viewpoints, you try to influence others, you try to persuade others with legitimate means if you believe that their viewpoint is wrong, your viewpoint is right. Tolerate them, try to educate them, try to influence them, try to persuade them. With all your might, try to do it. This is lending out a helping hand. Do so. If you can, do so. If not, fold your hands, bless your brothers and let them go their own way. If not, then you have to ensure everybody carves their own destiny. What do you understand by the quotation? बहुत ही अच्छा relevant example देना पड़ेगा हमें इसमें. In such quotation types questions, you will have to give relevant examples from this question statement was given in earlier context. You will have to give some modern context, modern day example in which this statement is still relevant. Lot of division of opinions regarding almost every issue today. Social media, for example, एक social media question भी है आपके. I don't know whether ma'am has discussed or whether Jatin sir is. I think Jatin sir is going to discuss that question. Social media वाला जो है. One of the aspects that social media has created is this. एक aspect जो है that we talk too much. The exchange of ideas has increased. How many people were writing letters or telegrams earlier? Very few. Now you are able to convey your idea, far more number of ideas as you were conveying earlier. So number of conversations have certainly increased. Number of conversations. अब आप ये बोल सकते हो that at dinner table, at coffee table, when you are sitting, most of the people are busy in their phones, not talking to each other. Yes, that's an aspect to it. But I am saying in general, the number of communications that you are having has increased. Social media has provided you a platform to present your viewpoint, obviously, more freely. Earlier, you had no platform to present your own viewpoint. So number of conversations, number of opinions, number of ideas floating have been increasing. They have increased. Social media has given you this platform. And therefore, what we see today is that people hold on to certain beliefs, certain viewpoints, certain ideas, ideologies in a rigid manner. In fact, most of the times in a dogmatic manner. Nobody would agree with you that I am dogmatic. But at the same time, you would realize that now people have become dogmatic. People have become very rigid in their opinions. I hope you understand where I am going with this. If somebody, for example, is in opposition to the current ruling party, whatever they do, they are going to find faults in it. If somebody is in agreement with the current ruling party, whatever they do, they are going to be in agreement with it. This has been the feature of our social discourse today. Do you not try to influence somebody else? Your parents, your brothers, sisters, your wife, your kids, everybody. You try to influence your friends, most of all. You try to influence their viewpoint by telling up your own viewpoint. Friendships have been broken, families have been broken because of differences in political ideological view. लिखो अपने आंसर में ये चीज, that this message holds a strong, this statement holds a strong message for our society today, where we see large number of friendships being broken because of different ideologies, different viewpoints on certain issues. Families being broken because of different viewpoint in certain issues. Bless your brothers and let them go their own ways. There is only this much that you can try to influence a person's viewpoint. If not, let them have their viewpoint. Why do you try to influence somebody else's viewpoint? क्यों? भाई, I don't agree with, let's say, somebody, some random person. मैं उसका viewpoint influence नहीं करने वाला हूं. Bless your brothers. Understand what is written in the question? Bless your brothers. Meaning the question is inherently focused upon the person whom you are trying to influence. किस person को influence करना चाहते हो? अपने friend को क्यों करना चाहते हो? Not because you want that person to vote for your party. इसलिए आप vote influence नहीं करना चाहते हो. Because genuinely you have a concern that my viewpoint is right and that person probably is missing out on something. आप रैंडम व्यक्ति के साथ डिस्कशन नहीं कर रहे हो मेट्रो में बैठ के कि भाई जो है मोदी जी ने सही किया या फिर मोदी जी ने गलत किया. रैंडम पर्सन के साथ डिस्कशन करने का ना कोई फायदा है, ना करना चाहिए. You are discussing, you are trying to influence whom? The person whom you care about. आपका बहुत अच्छा मित्र है, you are trying to influence that person. नहीं भाई, this work that has been done is right, or this work that has been done, or this act which has been passed is wrong. You are trying to influence a person whom you care about. That is why it is pertinent that you raise a helping hand, and if not, let your brother go their own way and carve out their own destiny. It's your responsibility to influence. It's your responsibility to discuss, to convey what you think is right. And at the same time, you must recognize that it is their responsibility or it is their life, and you don't have any reason to interfere in their life. आप influence करो, persuade करो, but don't try to force your opinion. Tolerance and acceptance. And finally, at the same time, if you believe that your viewpoint is correct, if you believe that you are right or more informed, better informed than that person, trust the nature or trust the environment that you will be proven right or wrong. But the point is, in the current circumstances, you think yourself to be right, and hence you must not change your viewpoint, or you must not be aloof. You must not be influenced. Obviously, if you get new information, certainly you should be influenced. You should be ready to open up your mind, change your viewpoint. But at the same time, if you feel that you are correct, then you should let the person feel that they are correct and feel yourself that you are correct. Both will choose their own destinies. Both will choose their own path. If you are not correct, you will find some problems. If that person is not correct, they will find some problems. And ultimately, a common viewpoint or something which is more reasonable will emerge, and that would be for betterment of all. This is what you should be writing in this answer. 3 aspects मैंने बोले: tolerance, acceptance, and ensuring that you remain steadfast. Carve your own destiny, carve your own path, let the other person carve their own path. I hope everybody understands this. Let's move on to the next question, number 6b. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. क्या मतलब है इसका? Mahatma Gandhi is saying this. the best way to find yourself. Are you lost? Are you lost? If you are lost, only then you will have to find yourself. And he is saying that if you are lost and then you have to find yourself, the best way is to lose yourself in service of others. This is what he is saying. Basically, what is it that Mahatma Gandhi is trying to say here? Mahatma Gandhi is basically trying to say that human beings, the core nature of human being, the core nature of human being is not to be selfish but to be selfless. At the exterior we feel that we are selfish and therefore our objectives, the manner in which we conduct ourselves, our life is mostly centered upon we trying to achieve goals that are in our best interest. Being selfish, goals which are in our best interest. And he says that that is not the best way to find yourself. The best way is that because your inherent nature is to be selfless, is to work for others' betterment, is to work for those who are not as privileged as you are. Then that is the best way in which you can find peace. When will you find peace? You will find peace when what you do aligns with what you are. This is what he is trying to say. What you think, what you speak and what you do. Your thoughts, your words, your actions are aligned with each other. Bhagavad Gita's message, and Gandhiji obviously big fan of Bhagavad Gita. What you think is what you speak. What you speak is what you do. That is the way to find yourself or to attain peace. If what you do is different from what you are, in that way you will be doing something which you are not. Hence there will always be conflict. You will always be searching for yourself in the wrong direction. क्योंकि आप जो कर रहे हो वो उससे डिफरेंट है आप जो हो. एंड ही इज सेइंग आप कौन हो? आप एक सेल्फलेस पर्सन हो एट योर कोर. यू आर नॉट अ सेल्फिश पर्सन. Human beings are not selfish at their core. Human beings are selfless at their core. This is what he is saying. And because you are selfless at your core, and if you do something which is selfish, you are looking in the wrong direction. You are not, you are trying to find peace, you are trying to find yourself, but the direction that you are looking for is completely wrong. You will not be able to find yourself if you look this way, because your true destiny calls this way. This is what he says, or what he means when he says that you will find your true self when you lose yourself here. This is what Mahatma Gandhi is trying to say. तो पहले हमने दिया है context. We have given a contextual explanation of what Mahatma Gandhi is trying to say. What does this quote mean to you? Partly we have said. Present context में क्या है? Present context में, well, in present context, one thing is for sure, that many people would try to do something for themselves first so that they are able to do something for others then. If you recognize that the way to lose yourself in service of others is to first be selfish and make yourself, put yourself in a position so that you can lose yourself in service of others. What good is losing yourself in service of others if you cannot be of any service to others? If you cannot be of any good to others, if you cannot be of any service to others, then there is no good that comes by losing yourself in service of others. Present context में क्या mean करता है statement? So a modern connotation of this, or a modern interpretation of this, has increasingly been, not universally, but increasingly been. Many people now seem to believe that one of the better ways or alternate ways to find themselves is certainly, yes, that you can lose yourself in service of others, but to lose yourself in service of others, first you should be in a position to be of service to others. Modern connotation. तो पहले हमने context explain किया कि what Gandhiji is trying to say. Think, speak, act. What you are versus what you do. First part में we give this explanation. Second part में we give a modern twist, modern connotation to this interpretation. to this statement. And that is that the modern twist is, take for example any of the large businessmen today. Those, even the ones you hate, they are also giving back to the society much more than you are giving back to the society. Reliance को hate करते हो क्या? अंबानी जी को लगभग सभी लोग hate करते हैं universally. How much is Reliance Foundation spending? Billions of dollars. Why are they spending? Certainly there might have been some motives. Income tax के motive हो सकते हैं. To have a goodwill in the society, इस चीज का motive हो सकते हैं. But the point is, they are also in service of others and at a far better place than you. Don't want to give a controversial example. There are many. Give example of Azim Premji. Give example of Kailash Satyarthi. Give example of large number of philanthropists. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. Give these examples. People who have first attained that status, that they are in a position to help others, and now they are spending, now they are trying to help others with all their might, with all what they can do. This is what you should be writing as the interpretation of this statement, meaning of this quote. Let's move on to the next question, question number 6C. Very interesting question. A system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is a mere illusion, a thoroughly vulgar conception which has nothing sound in it and nothing true. Question itna difficult, statement itni difficult. Let's read it again. A system of morality which is based on relative emotional values. System of morality is based on relative emotional values, ये बोल रहा है. Is a mere illusion. That means he is saying that a system of morality cannot be based on relative emotional values. It is a thoroughly vulgar conception. Conception of what? Conception of what is moral. एक system of morality क्या है? System of morality will tell you what is moral, what is not moral. Basically what is right, what is wrong. What constitutes what is right, what constitutes what is wrong. This is what a system of morality will tell you. तो क्वेश्चन समझना जरूरी है पहले. We have to understand the question that what this system of morality is. And if this system of morality, that is checking what is right and what is wrong, I have to judge something to be right and something to be wrong. And if the system that informs my judgment is based on emotional values, relative emotional values, कि मेरी इमोशनल वैल्यूज, मुझे कुछ अच्छा लगता है, इफ समथिंग दैट आई फील टू बी गुड, लिसन वेरी केयरफुली द चॉइस ऑफ वर्ड्स, इफ आई फील समथिंग इज गुड, इट बिकम्स राइट. इज गुड इक्वल टू राइट? इज गुड इक्वल टू राइट? वेरी सब्जेक्टिव और नॉट? मुझे कुछ चीज अच्छी लगती है एंड आई विल से दिस इज राइट. System of morality based on relative emotional values. Is it not a mere illusion? Yes, it is. Is it not a thoroughly vulgar concept with nothing sound in it and nothing true? मुझे अच्छा लगता है, I feel something to be right. मुझे अच्छा लगता है, for example, I'll give you an example and that way it will make things even more clear. A very beautiful example. There is a festival of culling of dogs in China. Dogs को मारते हैं and there is a festival, dog festival वहां पे होता है. There is a festival of culling of whales on Japanese coast and on Norwegian coast, Scandinavian coasts. Because you have an emotional value attached to dogs. आपको कुत्ते अच्छे लगते हैं. You feel that dogs are cute. You feel dogs are cute and that is why you are saying कि भाई नहीं, चाइनीज में जो, चाइना में जो फेस्टिवल हो रहा है, that is wrong. The emotional system that you have is the moral system that you have is based on emotions. क्यों? क्योंकि कुत्ते आपको पसंद है. You like dogs, therefore you are saying that the act which is happening there is wrong. You are silent on or you are indifferent to culling of animals elsewhere, killing of animals elsewhere. You are a non-vegetarian, for example, you eat chicken, you eat goat and you don't care about where your food comes from. but you are very emotional about what happens to certain dog. Not only that, you care more about the breed of the dog rather than about the animal itself. घर का कुत्ता है तो that साडा कुत्ता टॉमी, I hope all of you have heard that meme by now. You care more about the breed of dog rather than caring about the dog which is on the street. I don't care about the dog which is dying on the street, which is being kicked on the street. I am more or less indifferent to that. I care about only the dogs that I find cute. A system of morality based on emotions. What I think is good, is it right? No, it's not. No, it's not. This is what Socrates is trying to say, that a system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is a mere illusion. A thoroughly vulgar conception which has nothing sound in it and nothing true. Socrates, Greek philosopher, is saying, go back to ancient, for example, Rome. Greece and Rome are two different, I hope you know this. In ancient Rome, slavery has been justified, is considered to be moral, and that morality continues till at least 1864, when slavery has been abolished by law in USA. Even today, the conception of that a person of African American origin is not good still prevails. But at least 1864 की बात करें, till then slavery prevailed. It was considered to be a moral right to own slaves. Slavery was considered to be morally just, morally good, even in Socrates' times. In Roman Empire, you have the system of gladiators who are fighting with each other, indulging themselves in a bloodbath, fighting with animals without any weapons, and the whole crowd is enjoying that sight of blood. Emotion, you are emotionally attached. The people there are emotionally attached to that sight, and therefore they consider the act which is going on to be right. What is good, what is likable for them is right. Is it or is it not? Obviously it is not. This is what Socrates is trying to say. ये आपको आंसर में लिखना है. A system of morality cannot be based on what is likable or what is considered to be good by a few people. It has to be based on sound principles of reasoning, that what should be right and why it should be right. And the answer to why is not merely that it is likable, that I am emotionally attached and that is why it is right. No, that cannot be the answer. That is a vulgar conception of what is morality. At the same time, modern context mein, the context changes, some values acquire permanency. Honesty or integrity as a principle is part of the system of morality, not just because people like it, not just because people are emotionally attached to it, but because there is a solid universal reasoning that why honesty, integrity, perseverance, fortitude, all these values must be perceived. If somebody acts in a manner which demonstrates perseverance, which demonstrates courage, which demonstrates standing up for right, it is right or it is morally right to stand up against a particular wrong, not just because it is favorable, not just because you favor the underdog. Underdog को फेवर करना सब पसंद करते हैं. That some small team, Nepal is अफगानिस्तान का मैच है पाकिस्तान के साथ, अफगानिस्तान इज अंडरडॉग, सो लेट्स सपोर्ट अफगानिस्तान फॉर दैट. इमोशनल अटैचमेंट है, बट दैट डजंट मेक इट राइट. अफगानिस्तान को सपोर्ट करना है तो देयर मस्ट बी मॉरल जस्टिफिकेशन अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस इमोशनल वल्गैरिटी दैट इट्स अ अंडरडॉग एंड देयरफॉर आई मस्ट सपोर्ट इट. That supporting is not an act that we are judging. The reason why you are supporting, the reason why something is morally right or wrong should not be emotional. ये आंसर में लिखेंगे. I hope you are able to understand what is the meaning of this statement. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Let's discuss the case studies now. I'll be taking up 3 case studies. The first case study you can see on your screen. It is question number 8 of this year's paper. I'll read the case and I'll quickly tell what should you be writing in this answer. The chairman of Bharat Missiles Limited (BML) was watching a program on television wherein the Prime Minister was addressing the nation on a necessity of developing a self-reliant India. He subconsciously nodded in agreement and smiled to himself. By self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, who in their right senses would oppose this? Shouldn't we be self-reliant? Shouldn't we be Atmanirbhar? Obviously, yes. And he smiled and nodded in agreement. He subconsciously nodded in agreement and smiled to himself as he mentally reviewed BML's journey in the past 2 decades. BML had admirably progressed from producing first generation anti-tank guided missiles to designing and producing state-of-art anti-tank guided missile weapon system that would be envy of any army. He sighed in reconciliation with his assumptions that the government would probably not alter the status quo of a ban on export of military weaponry. To his surprise, the very next day he got a telephone call from Director General, Ministry of Defence, asking him to discuss the modalities of increasing BML production of ATGMs, as there is a possibility of exporting the same to a friendly foreign country. Director General wanted the chairman to discuss the details with his staff at Delhi next week. 2 days later, at a press conference, the Defence Minister stated that he aims to double the current weapons export levels within 5 years. This would give an impetus to financing the development and manufacture of indigenous weapons in the country. He also stated that all indigenous arms manufacturing nations have a very good record of international arms trade. As a chairman of BML, what are your views on the following points? क्या views हैं आपके following points? I hope the case is absolutely clear to everybody. As an arms exporter of a responsible nation like India, what are the ethical issues involved in arms trade? I'll repeat the question. As an arms exporter of a responsible nation like India, what are the ethical issues involved in arms trade? And list 5 ethical factors that would influence the decision to sell arms to foreign government. How should you be writing the answer to this case? Case study का आंसर किस तरीके से लिखते हैं? See, in a case study, you are presented with an ethical dilemma. Usually, you are presented with an ethical dilemma. So, what is an ethical dilemma? An ethical dilemma is a situation in which the choice of options that you have. I'll repeat, an ethical dilemma is a situation in which the choice of options that you have, none of the choices that you have are completely right or completely wrong. Because if something was completely right, there would be no choice. If something is completely right, you would obviously pursue that. If something is completely wrong, unambiguously wrong, then certainly you would never pursue that. So what is an ethical dilemma? You have 2 options, 3 options in front of you, and none of those options are completely right or completely wrong. You have to make a choice. You have to make a decision, take a decision that if I pursue something, there would be some wrongs associated with it. क्योंकि ultimately जो आपने decision लेना है, in that decision there would be certain demerits, there would be certain wrongs. So the important point is, in a case study, you would always be presented with such dilemmas in which the choice that you exercise is not completely right, is not completely wrong. You will have to balance between rights and wrongs together. Obviously, in this case, there would be some rights, there would be some wrongs. What is it that they are asking? They are asking that as a responsible nation, who as of now has a ban on export of arms, आज की तारीख में आपके कंट्री के अंदर एक्सपोर्ट ऑफ आर्म्स के ऊपर बैन लगा हुआ है, लेकिन नाउ यू आर रिव्यूइंग इट एंड नाउ यू आर सेइंग दैट वी विल स्टार्ट एक्सपोर्टिंग आर्म्स टू फ्रेंडली कंट्रीज. The decision to ban had some positives, had some negatives. The decision to revoke that ban and export arms to rest of the world will be having some positives, will be having some negatives. Some positive features to that, some negative features to that. What would be your decision? Or what are the factors that you will use to analyze, is it right or is it wrong to export arms? क्या factors होंगे जो आपके दिमाग में होंगे? If you have taken a decision that okay, we will export arms, गवर्नमेंट हैज टेकन डिसीजन कि भाई हम आर्म एक्सपोर्ट करने वाले हैं, राजनाथ सिंह ने आगे बोल दिया दैट वी आर गोइंग टू डबल आवर प्रोडक्शन एंड वी आर गोइंग टू एक्सपोर्ट. इफ यू हैव टेकन अ डिसीजन दैट यू आर गोइंग टू एक्सपोर्ट, देन हाउ वुड यू एंश्योर दैट द नेगेटिव्स ऑफ आर्म्स एक्सपोर्ट आर आइदर एलिमिनेटेड और मिनिमाइज्ड? आर्म्स एक्सपोर्ट करना, आई विल रिपीट, केस स्टडी जब लिखते हैं, when we write an answer to case study, the most important thing that you should know is this, that while writing an answer to case study, you must write arguments, argumentative, एक logical flow होना चाहिए case study के अंदर. Argumentatively you should be writing that this, then this, hence this, why not this, and that is why not this. Arguments होने चाहिए कि मैं I am doing something, I am taking a decision to export, but taking a decision to export arms entails negatives. क्या negative है सबको पता है. For example, arms may be used on, let's say, peaceful people. Arms may be used to control peaceful protesters, people who are fighting for their legitimate concerns, legitimate rights. Arms may be transferred to your enemy states. Arms may be used, arms trade may develop, and that may lead to development of a secondary or illegal arms trade also. क्योंकि जब legal arms trade होगा, it will also open channels for illegal arms trade. Illegal arms trade is the lifeblood of terrorism and organized crime. Illegal arms trade also leads to human trafficking. तो अब ये सब कंसर्न है, नेगेटिव्स है, मैंने नेगेटिव्स लिस्ट किए. एथिकल फैक्टर्स, these ethical factors are in your mind that if we allow arms trade to happen, if we allow arms trade to go through, then these negatives will come into play. There are legitimate concerns that these things may happen. How would you minimize these things? This is what is required to be written in case study. Case study में आपको ये नहीं लिखना है कि arms trade करने से क्या होगा. That if you do arms trade, then some business will come, your industry will become more competitive, or there would be human trafficking, there would be arms that would be transferred to enemy states, arms that would be used against innocent citizens. ये सब नहीं लिखना है. As in, I'm sorry, लिखना है ये सब, but all this has to be written with a perspective. You are not either an activist who is writing an answer, neither you are a yes man who is writing an answer. आप केवल वहां पे पॉजिटिव्स गिनवाने नहीं बैठे हो या फिर नेगेटिव्स गिनवाने नहीं बैठे हो जब आंसर लिख रहे हो, तो आप सॉल्यूशन देने बैठे हो. You have to write solution to how can the ill effects of armed trade be minimized. Decision has been taken and now that decision entails certain negative aspects. The question, list 5 ethical factors that would influence the decision to sell arms to foreign governments. This is basically asking you what would be the concerns in your mind and how will you address that. Ethical factors you would take into account while selling arms to rest of the world or to any country that you choose to. Question is basically asking you for solutions, not for problems. Ethical factors में issues लिखने हैं, yes. But at the same time, how to minimize them, how to address them, how to ensure that those negatives do not occur, or if they occur, how do you recognize them, how do you check them, how do you minimize them. ये लिखना है आंसर में. एक्टिविस्ट की तरह ये नहीं लिख के आना है कि हम आर्म्स ट्रेड करेंगे एंड दैट विल लीड टू ऑल दीज थिंग्स, ब्लड मनी विल फ्लो एंड ऑल सच थिंग्स. नो, गिव सॉल्यूशंस. दिस इज व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड इन द आंसर. What are the ethical issues involved in arms trade? I hope अब मैंने आपको बता दिया. You should be able to write ethical issues involved in arms trade. Blood money, a big ethical issue involved here. What are the end use of arms? Does the nation create wars in order to sell arms? America, for example, known for creating wars in order to sustain its military its military weapons complex. Its economy is based on exporting arms. Large part of that economy comes from exporting of arms. So does exporting arms mean that you would create a demand for arms? Ethical factor involved in this arms trade. What is the end use of arms? Is it being used on peaceful people? Is it getting into the hands of wrong people who would use on peaceful people? Is it getting into hands of your enemy state or actors of enemy state who would use against yourself? Factors that would influence decision to sell arms to foreign governments. What are the factors that you would use? What is the history of use of arms by that country? How has that country used arms in the past? If somebody is importing arms, that means that country would be importing arms from the rest of the world also. अब आप तो एक नए खिलाड़ी हो जो जिनसे वो arms import कर रहा है. What is the history of use of weapons by that country? What is the role of that importing country in maintaining peace and stability across the world? What is the record plus what is your role in maintaining peace and stability? What is the record of that country which is importing in implementing steadfastly the weapons control treaties that country is a signatory to? अब ये वाला पार्ट पहले फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन के आंसर में भी आएगा. What are the जब पहले पार्ट में लिखा है एज एन आर्म एक्सपोर्टर ऑफ रिस्पॉन्सिबल नेशन, व्हाट आर द एथिकल इश्यूज, तो उसमें हम एक और इशू ये भी लिखेंगे, इंडिया बीइंग अ सिग्नेटरी टू वेपन्स कंट्रोल ट्रीटीज, वेरियस वेपन्स कंट्रोल रिजीम्स. वो लिखना होगा उसमें वासेनार अग्रीमेंट, MTCR missile technology control regime, India being a signatory. We cannot export missiles which have more than 300 kilometer range. So we have to comply with those. वो first part में उस चीज को I forgot to tell, but now I'm telling you. First part में those things are very important. Next, what is the need of that arms importing country? It's not just that you would sell to a country just because it demands, you would also try to take into account what is the need. You would also ensure that in the agreement, ethical factor mein, when you sell arms, you would also ensure that there is an agreement of end use, that for what purposes can that product be used. So for example, a certain missile is sold from by USA to Pakistan. USA will try to incorporate that in the agreement that this missile will not be used against allies of USA or strategic partners of USA. India becomes a strategic partner, Pakistan cannot use that missile against India. So what is the end use? These are the factors that you would be taking into account while while deciding about whether to sell arms to foreign country or not. आगे बढ़ते हैं, next question. Let's look at question number 9. Question number 9 on your screens. Question number 9. Rampura, a remote district inhabited by a tribal population, is marked by extreme backwardness Rampura, a remote district inhabited by a tribal population, is marked by extreme backwardness and abject poverty. Object नहीं abject होना चाहिए, object नहीं abject होना चाहिए यहां पे, abject poverty. Agriculture is the mainstay of local population, though it is primarily subsistence due to very small land holdings. There is insignificant industrial or mining activity. Even the targeted welfare programs have inadequately benefited the tribal population. Even the targeted welfare programs, उन्होंने भी बहुत inadequately welfare किया है tribal population को. In this restrictive scenario, the youth has begun to migrate to other states to supplement the family income. Plight of minor girls is that their parents are persuaded by labor contractors to send them to work in BT cotton farms of a nearby state. The soft fingers of minor girls are well suited for plucking the cotton. The inadequate living and working conditions in these farms have caused serious health issues for minor girls. NGOs in the districts of domicile and the cotton farms appear to be compromised and have not effectively espoused the twin issues of child labor and development of that area. You are appointed as the district collector of Rampura. Identify the ethical issues involved and which specific steps will you initiate to ameliorate the conditions of minor girls of your district and improve the overall economic scenario in the district. तो पहला पार्ट है आइडेंटिफाई द एथिकल इश्यूज इन्वॉल्व. एथिकल इश्यूज इन्वॉल्व क्या है? What is meant by this term ethical issue? Question में पूछा जाता है that what are the ethical issues? What do you write when the question is asking you ethical issues? Think about certain rights. Think about certain values. Think about certain principles. Think about constitutional rights. Think about principles espoused in the preamble. Think about the values that we so dearly adhere to. A compromise on those values, a compromise on those principles, a compromise on those rights are nothing but ethical issues involved in a case. First ethical issue involved in the case, abject failure of the state to perform its duty. The basic duty of maintaining law and order and enforcing the law of land, that is the first and foremost ethical issue that is failing in this case. Abject failure of state to perform its duty to implement the law of land against child labor. Second ethical issue, inability of the state to act in the best interest of the society. Failure of state to provide conditions which are conducive to growth and not drainage of resources. Failure of administration, ethical issue involved in this case. Failure to uphold and implement constitutional rights of people. Erosion of human capital. Rather than having a human capital, building human capital, there is erosion of human capital from this district. These are the ethical issues involved in this case. Abdication of duty by NGOs, certainly yes. One more ethical issue. NGOs required to perform a certain. देखो ethical issue जब हम लिखेंगे, we have to write one line each in explaining these ethical issues. I hope you can write. Abject failure of state to carry out its responsibility. उसमें लिखो एक लाइन में, the state is responsible to implement the protection of child's the protection of child's act. The constitutional responsibility of state to ensure that fundamental right of child to study and not work in hazardous conditions especially is not violated. It's an abject failure of state. So right, these are the ethical issues involved. What specific steps will you take for improvement of conditions of ameliorating the conditions of these minor girls and to improve overall economic situation in the district? Steps हम क्या लेंगे? Now this is a very general, very cliched question, very standard question. अब standard question का अच्छा आंसर कैसे लिखते हैं? स्टैंडर्ड क्वेश्चन में अच्छा आंसर, नई एनर्जी कैसे डालते हैं स्टैंडर्ड क्वेश्चन के आंसर में? भाई यहां आप इसमें यू विल राइट पॉइंट्स दैट आई विल कैरी आउट एन इंक्वायरी, I will ensure that cooperation of the nearby state in which girls are going, that is taking place. I will ensure that people who are employing these girls, they are arrested, put behind bars. Any broker or any facilitator of such any facilitator which is employing these girls, taking them out, is also arrested. I hope you will write all those points. लेकिन इसके अंदर और फ्रेश एनर्जी कैसे भरते हैं आंसर में? सबसे पहले तो हमें आंसर जब लिखना होता है, वी हैव टू राइट आंसर इन अ क्रोनोलॉजिकल ऑर्डर. क्रोनोलॉजी ऑफ व्हाट? क्रोनोलॉजी ऑफ प्रायोरिटीज. प्रायोरिटीज आंसर में हम प्रायोरिटीज मेंशन कर दें, rather than simply writing that I will do this. Structure your answer in such a way. I am right. देखो again answer is very standard, cliched answer है इसका, लेकिन इस cliched answer को अच्छा कैसे बनाना है, attractive कैसे बनाना है एग्जामिनर के लिए? Write down what will be your priorities. When answering part B, give a subheading in your answer and write down that I will have the following priorities. Then give a subheading that this will be my method in order to achieve these priority goals. The first priority is to ensure that these girls, minor girls, are rescued from those farms. Second priority is to ensure that there is no governance deficit. Jitna governance deficit hai, that schemes are not being implemented on the ground, I will have to ensure that there is no governance deficit. Then write down, in the medium to long term, my priority would be to develop conditions for conducive economic growth in this district. So that human capital is retained, brain drain or human drain from this district is stopped, and this district goes on the path of prosperity. ये आपकी एक long term priority है, immediate priority नहीं है. तो आंसर में अगर हम priorities लिख देंगे, now examiner is clear that you can think like a civil servant. स्टैंडर्ड आंसर लिखने में नहीं कि मैं एक इंक्वायरी कंडक्ट करूंगा, जो ऑफिसर्स इन्वॉल्व है उनको पनिश करूंगा, जो पीपल इन्वॉल्व है उनको पनिश करूंगा. आई विल एंश्योर दैट द चिल्ड्रन गो टू स्कूल, स्कूल की कंडीशंस इंप्रूव करूंगा, इंडस्ट्रीज को बुलाऊंगा. ये सब स्टैंडर्ड है. स्टैंडर्ड का मीनिंग इस सब पे मार्क्स नहीं मिलने वाले हैं आपको, दैट आई विल डू दिस. यू विल गेट एवरेज मार्क्स. 20 marks case study, you will not get more than 5 marks if you write like this. Why? Because all other 10,000 people have written like this. To stand out, you will have to write something which is attractive to the examiner, which makes the examiner think that this person can think like a civil servant. Prioritize करो. Limited resources के अंदर कैसे, how will we achieve our objective with limited resources? Give some fresh energy. Write down, for example, you can write this fresh energy point in your answer, that I will provide fresh energy to efforts of the district administration. It is proven, it is a fact that the record speaks for itself that the previous administrations have not been able to achieve their desired objectives. They might have best of intentions, but the results speak for themselves that the methods adopted by previous administrations might have not worked, because the situation in the district is still very bad. Do you think previous administrations would have done anything different? They would have also done these things. अगर आप सोच सकते हो, जो कि अभी सिविल सर्वेंट नहीं बने हो, तो जो सिविल सर्वेंट बन चुका है वो व्यक्ति तो पहले से ही ये काम कर रहा होगा जो आप सोच रहे हो. Write down in your answer that I will try to provide a fresh energy. Write down, I will give a fresh approach to meeting the priorities. It would be a time bound approach. It would be an approach in which I would try to write down what are the immediate objectives that can be achieved. Once those immediate objectives are achieved or are on path to be achieved, it will give impetus to the whole organization to dream for, to aim for higher objectives. This is how you will be able to achieve even greater objectives. Brain drain stop करना है, इंडस्ट्री को अट्रैक्ट करना है, उसके लिए पहले एटलीस्ट लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सुधारना पड़ेगा. लोगों को समर्थ, लोगों को you will have to make sure that the government programs reach the people. एटलीस्ट जो प्रोग्राम है वो तो लोगों के पास जाए. This is how you will be trying to, this is how you should be writing an answer to this question. Let's come to the last question that I'll be discussing. It's question number 12. Migrant workers have always remained at the socio-economic margin of our society, silently serving as the instrumental labor force of urban economies. The pandemic has brought them into national focus. On announcement of a country-wide lockdown, a very large number of migrant workers decided to move back from their places of employment to their native villages. The non-availability of transport created its own problems. Added to this was the fear of starvation and inconvenience to their families. This caused migrant workers to demand wages and transport facilities for returning to their villages. The mental agony was accentuated by multiple factors such as sudden loss of livelihood, possibility of lack of food and inability to assist in harvesting their rabi crop due to not being able to reach home in time. Reports of inadequate response of some districts in providing the essential boarding and lodging arrangements along the way multiplied their fears. You have learnt many lessons from this situation where you were asked to oversee the functioning of district disaster relief force in your district. In your opinion, what ethical issues arose in current migrant crisis? What do you understand by an ethical caregiving state? What assistance can civil society render to mitigate the suffering of migrants in similar situations? Question सबको मालूम है, everybody has lived through these difficult times. You know, you understand the plight of migrants maybe even better than me. You have understood the question, you would have read about so many stories of migrant work. You would have seen, everybody would have seen in news, people walking on foot, people going by cycle, covering thousands of kilometers of distance. Many stories have come across. Many good stories have come across wherein people, residents, district administration has provided a helping hand. Many good stories, no doubt about that. Many good stories are also there. In fact, if you look at it, there are very, very few cases, despite the scale of number of people who went through this migration, reverse migration as you call it. Despite such a big scale of reverse migration, almost 1/3 of the country migrated. 1/3 of the country. 1/3 of India is in move. लिखो अपने आंसर में चीज लिखना stat. That about 1/3 of the population is living in their non-native place. India on the move. Economic survey के अंदर था ये last year में. Write this thing down, give this stat. And most of those people would have gone back to their homes, to their native villages, to their native places, wherever they come from during this lockdown, in the initial days of lockdown. And despite such a huge scale of reverse movement, the problem was, yes, appalling at many places. The problem was, yes, which required lot of compassion and empathy at many places. But still, the human will persevered. Let's just call that. The district administrations were active, have been active, were certainly very active, but the scale was so huge that there were bound to be problems, no doubt about that. The problem was unprecedented. We were dealing with something which was completely unknown. We had no idea how to deal with these things. So yes, the problem was unprecedented. The scale was huge. District administration, even when they willed to help, the state administration, even when they were willing to help, come forward, being sympathetic, compassionate to the plight of people, there was only limited that they could do. This was accentuated by, number one, the emergency of the situation, that you are not safe in the place, not safe health wise as in you could catch the virus, not safe economically or socially because there is nothing for you here. Nobody is going to give you work, nobody is going to give you food. So the best option that you have is to immediately go back to your native place. The transportation lines are closed and hence the manner in which you will be going back is very limited. Trucks के ऊपर लटक के जाना पड़ेगा and people were going, risking their lives just because they had to go to their native place. Why? Because they could not afford to be here, spend one more day here in whatever city they were living in. So despite best intentions of administrations, despite the emergency, despite the problem, despite the pain being felt by almost everybody, there was limitation in what we could have done, what we were doing. And why this limitation? This limitation, or why does it feel that we could have done more, or if not done more, then at least we should have done more? This is because, for example, lack of administrative capacity. There is an act of 1979. There is an act of 1979, Interstate Migrant Workmen Regulation and Employment and Conditions of Service Act 1979. I'll repeat the name of the act. Repeat हो चुकी है, जिसको लिखना है लिखना. Interstate Migrant Workmen Regulation of Employment and Conditions of Service Act 1979. It was replaced by the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020. Replaced in 2020 only. पिछले साल ही replace किया after this migrant crisis. Abject failure of the state to implement an already enacted act that deals with the very same problem. You have an act enacted by the parliament in 1979 that talks about building the database, building the capability of state to deal with, to ensure migrant workers are given, for example, minimum facilities, minimum wages. There is a proper database of these migrant workers. You have an act that deals with it. Because there was lack of information, lack of database of these people, because this act was not properly implemented, and hence the problems were bound to arise. But obviously we cannot, देखो, we can empathize in the hindsight. Hindsight में हम empathize कर सकते हैं. Go back to 22nd March when lockdown was announced. Everybody knew that lockdown was coming. About 5-6 days पहले से rumors were there, messages were there. Everybody knew that the virus is going to wreak havoc and lockdown is coming. Today or tomorrow it is going to come. Everybody knew this. At the same time, nobody could be prepared for the scale of what was about to come. जब लॉकडाउन स्टार्ट हुआ तब क्या बोला कि भाई जो है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, एक महीने महाभारत रामायण चलनी है तो एक महीने का ही लॉकडाउन है. I mean, nobody knew what was about to come. Nobody knew what was the scale of operations that we were dealing in. In the hindsight, we can always criticize, we can always say this could have been done better, this could have, that could have been done better. But at that moment, you tried to do what you could do, but that led to problems for lots of people. So therefore, ultimately we will say that it is the responsibility of state or the abject failure of state to implement an act that was already in place, or to provide for better facilities of movement of the people who were required to be moved from one place to another. And this essence is captured in the next part of the question. What is an ethical caregiving state? Ethical caregiving state क्या है? An ethical caregiving state. Now there is no definition of ethical caregiving state. You can say, let's say it's a paternalistic state. ये बोल सकते हो आप. You can say that there is a constitutional mandate that sovereign socialist republic, constitutional mandate, the preamble says that you will have develop a society in which rights of people, liberty, equality, justice, all these are protected. So there is a constitutional mandate. There is a constitutional guidance to how should a ethical state act. You can say that in your constitution again and through various charters, various documents that you have signed, there is a responsibility on the state to provide, to ensure various human rights, various legal rights. The core amongst them being right to live. Article 19 gives you a right to move. So there are rights that are enshrined in various documents, various acts, various legislation of the state, and most importantly the constitution. And an ethical caregiving state can be seen as, can be visualized as a state which guarantees to its individuals certain rights, which enforces those rights, which makes sure that those rights are upheld, especially in such tough times. And if those rights are not held because of lack of capacity, then at least state recognizes that what can be done if those rights are not upheld, if those rights are not honored. At least state recognize करे that okay, that there is a problem. There is a problem of lack of capacity. What else can be done? लिखो अपने आंसर में, for example, the government provided ration for about 80 crores people. Huge. Second, अगले 3-4 कंट्रीज की पॉपुलेशन समाप्त करो, they don't even have 80 crores people. So government provided ration for 80 crores people, doubled up the provision of ration under PDS, and even more number of people were provided. Central government providing 500 rupees every month to people who are registered under PDS. State government providing a top up over that. Bihar government is providing 1000 rupees over and above 500 rupees of central government. So state governments and central governments stepped in to help in other ways. Ethical caregiving state. Give examples of, yes, there are elements of ethical caregiving. केवल ऐसे क्रिटिसाइज मत करने लग जाना वहां पे एक्टिविस्ट की तरह. जापान ने इतना बड़ा पैकेज अनाउंस किया. भाई जापान की कैपेबिलिटी अलग है, आपके देश की कैपेबिलिटी अलग है. जापान से कंपेयर कर रहे हो. So give your answer, criticize, recognize the problem, and also recognize the positive aspects. What assistance can civil society render to mitigate the suffering of migrants in similar situation? I think that's very obvious, very, very straightforward. You can write this thing. Collection of data, providing of help. States' capacity is limited. Civil society can provide help where states' reach is not there. Organized transport, for example. Take permission from the government that we are involved in transporting people, providing transport services, providing food to people. We at Vision IAS, for example, we were providing services. There is an NGO that we run, Paras नाम का एक NGO है. We were providing food to people, migrant laborers. हमारी गाड़ी जाती थी और food लेके जाती थी वहां पे. So yes, civil society does act, can act, and these are the ways in which it can act that you should be writing in the answer. When state's capacity is limited, civil society needs to step up. That is the whole sole purpose of existence of civil society. Fine, quite an easy question to understand, and आंसर में पॉइंट्स आप सबको पता है. दैट इज वाई नॉट डिस्कस दिस मच. फिर भी काफी ज्यादा डिस्कस कर दिया. दैट्स इट फ्रॉम माय साइड एवरीबॉडी. आई थैंक यू सो मच. विश यू ऑल द बेस्ट फॉर योर एग्जाम्स, फॉर योर प्रिपरेशन. Jatin sir is here. He'll start taking the discussion in next 5 minutes. Let's take a break of about 5 minutes. Jatin sir will start the discussion in about 5 minutes of time. Okay. Thank you so much. All the best everyone.